letting people in. Good morning.
No, you look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I'll fluff up my hair in a second. I got Miss Daisy on my lap today. I don't know how long we'll have her. Hang on and I'll invite you. No problem. Let's see if I can figure out how. Oh, I figured out how. Oh, now my alarm's going off. Okay, I sent you a link. You're welcome. Miss Daisy, we gotta sit. We gotta sit. We gotta sit better. There you go. Now, can you sit right there? No, you're gonna leave? Okay, let me put you down. More people coming in. If you guys have questions, start firing them at me. I'm just letting people log in here. I don't see Miss Arlene yet, and I got news for you guys. I'm so excited. All right, let me turn up my volume so I can hear everybody. You guys know that we beat that assembly bill, right?
No, are you talking about the bill of the 5%?
Yes.
Because California Apartment Association sent a link, said that it went through, it passed in both the House and the Assembly.
Waiting for Arlene to get on here and talk to us. I just made sure she's coming in. Hello, Rachel. Oh, and I got peeps coming in. Here comes Arlene. Here we come. We're all getting on here now. Admit all. I found the right button. Hello, good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. I'm early today, so it's kind of weird. Arlene, you know we're wanting to hear from you. We want to hear your update.
On what?
1157.
Oh, yeah.
Huh. What you got for us on 1157?
Was on the phone a lot this past week, calling all the assembly people and talking with their staffs. They said they hadn't heard very much from the community, which I was kind of surprised about. But apparently they must have, because they ended up pulling the bill. So that was really good news.
1157 has dissipated and it's been withdrawn. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'm waiting to see if Chris is going to add 2 cents about it. I love that we all collaborate about these things. I just let him in, so I know he didn't hear.
2 cents about what?
1157 has been withdrawn.
Which one? Is that the one about LA County, or that's the one that's statewide?
Statewide.
Oh, great.
Limiting the amount of increase on single family and condo and whatever.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even know that yet.
Yeah.
Great.
Arlene updated me Friday, I think, or was it Monday? I don't remember.
Because I thought it must have been Monday, because like the last I heard last week was that it had like passed a committee like 7-5, even though a bunch of the committee members had like reservations and thought that it would do the opposite, which is like, what are you guys doing then, voting in favor? But whatever.
And then Monday, Arlene, go ahead, Arlene.
Yeah, no, I was really concerned because it looked like it was going to get, go from committee and move forward, but apparently I don't know what happened, but I'm hoping that maybe AGLA does that monthly update with stuff, so I'm hoping maybe they'll talk about what happened.
Yeah, as long as it's withdrawn, that's all I care about.
Right, no, I was jumping for joy.
I have a question and it's in regards to legislation. And you guys remember, I know a whole lot about a very small niche, and I know a little bit about a lot of other niches, but not everything. If they withdraw an assembly bill, is it kind of like dismissing without prejudice so it can go back again, just revamped?
Well, I mean, it could always go back in another session. The other thing that I'm worried about is that they have this thing called gut and amend, which they actually did to that other LA County. I forget I'm sorry, I'm not good with names. I'm better with concepts. So I can't remember what it was, but there was like there was one where they were trying to like institute a rent. I think it was a rent increase moratorium on LA County, but at the state level for some less than.
I think it might have had to do with the fires.
Yeah, well, supposedly, but still, what are they doing interfering with local politics to that extent?
B and B, bureaucracy and BS, man.
But there was another one, and I think there's this thing called gut and amend where they can somehow, while a bill is still, because their time limits went like the last day a bill can be introduced in the session. There's dates like the last date the governor has to.
They have a process and procedure they have to follow that has timelines.
So, but there's like there's like over 1,000 bills introduced in the session.
Yeah.
So sometimes what they do is like gut and amend, where I'm not sure exactly what the precise procedure is, but somehow they managed to like essentially just totally make the bill about something totally different than it was and change it entirely. It's one of those crazy tricks that makes no sense to me that why it would be even acceptable.
Right.
Because it seems like it's, what's the point of having a rule of like when the last day is to introduce legislation if you can backdoor introduce it with this gut and amend? But so my only fear is like do they somehow try and bring aspects of it back via gut and amend? But if it really was,
I think that this is just a big eye opener. I knew that when they implemented AB 1482 across the entire state, it was the first introduction. And I knew we were in a little bit more trouble when they started amending it by zip codes or areas, if you will, of rent cap of how much that could be. What happened to 10%? We lost 10%. It's kind of like we, the people, have been baited and switched. Okay. And now they want to take that 10% and potentially turn it to only 5%.
And
you see what I mean?
I believe, if I read correctly on CAA's website, it was originally on somebody's website. It was originally supposed to be like a 10-year deal, and it was going to sunset in 2030.
It is supposed to sunset in 2030. And my thought became,
that's never going to happen.
Why would they give it a civil code if it has a sunset clause? It's not going away.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to assign something a civil code and then give it a date that it expires. It's not going to expire. We all know it.
Yeah, it says that when a bill is withdrawn, the sponsor formally requests that it be removed from the legislative process. This often is done when the sponsor realizes the bill doesn't have enough support to pass. Once it's withdrawn, it can no longer be debated, amended, or voted on in the assembly. The sponsor can restart the process by bringing it back, but it would need to be reintroduced as a new bill and start the process again from the beginning. And before the bill can be withdrawn, it has to be assigned to a committee, which will have to be reviewed and debate the bill. If the bill is withdrawn before it leaves committee, it simply remains in that committee. So I think it's pretty much dead in its current position.
Well, I think it was going to another committee, so maybe it died in that other committee. Maybe if you withdrew it in that committee, it died there. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because I saw that it had gone from one committee to another.
I think the most important part here, and this is all I want to grab a hold of, is if it's withdrawn, it's no longer a threat to us.
Well, except that
Currently.
It telegraphs where they want to go. So, I mean, don't think it's not a threat. I think we still.
It's always looming. It's always looming.
I think you still have to think about those packs. the various packs like that CAA and AGLA have, because it's really the only way I think to speak. I don't.
It is absolutely. I can't push the political advocate fund myself. It does wonders. You guys, you have no idea. But those dollars you put there really do go to work straight where they need to. So very important that we all do what we can. Don't put yourself in the poorhouse, but if you can do something, that's where it should go. Anybody have other things they want to talk about today? Because I know there's a few people that I saw come in that are probably going to have a couple of really good questions for today that I want to share with everyone the answer. So if anybody has questions, start firing them off. Patti, do you by chance have anyone that services wall furnaces? It's an old wall heater. What city? Just let me know what city. That helps tremendously. Downey. Okay, so you're in LA County. AGLA is going to have a list of vendors in this area, and now everybody else that has a heater guy in LA County that services Downey area may give you a name and a phone number in here, and that's fine too if somebody wants to do a recommendation. I appreciate that. I will tell you to reach out to AGLA. Your local apartment association is going to be the one that has the list of vendors in your area that are licensed, insured, bonded, etc. The apartment associations usually don't take vendors on that don't meet our specifications. In other words, they have to be licensed and for their trade, have so much insurance, be willing to list you as additional insured or interested party if they're doing work at your property. And these are all ways to help protect your asset. AGLA does not hire or allow people to join as a vendor. I forget what they call it. It's not an industry partner. They call it something else. Forgive me, my brain went blank. It happens sometimes, but we'll just call it on the vendor side. They don't pull on just anybody. I think that's a nice way to say that. The vendors that your apartment association screens for you are vetted. They are all independent, but they are very particular who they allow to advertise to their landlords. They want to hear the sales pitch. I've sat through some of the things that AGLA does when they're screening vendors, and they do their best to help protect you guys. But you guys got to do some part on your own, okay? If you hire somebody to work on your rental property or on your own house, being listed as additional insured or interested party on their policy helps you. Let me explain why. Somebody's up in the attic installing cable lines or electric or doing something and they fall through the ceiling, okay? Oops. Rather than fighting with who's going to pay that bill, all you have to do, landlord, is call the insurance company and file a claim because you're listed as additional insured. You can do that. See how that worked? Okay, that way you avoid the argument. It's just real easy for you to bypass the vendor, file an insurance claim, and hire somebody else to fix it. Okay, just talking to you out loud, conceptually. I'm going down the list of questions, so just bear with me. Did the Los Angeles Housing Tenants' Rights red thing get updated in March? I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
You know the
Chris?
notice that you have to post in a common area?
Oh, under
I just
large
had,
show.
yeah, I just had somebody tell me this week that it got updated in March, so I was curious if anybody, if
They
that's true or
usually
not.
get updated annually. So I would look and see if a new one is different than the one that went up there because we want
It's
to be.
just hard to find, like, their website sucks. I
Arlene,
can't,
Arlene may be able to answer this question. She's probably looking right now. she's my LARSO guru.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking now. I'm
Yeah,
not
see?
aware of it, but
It's a way for the city to hang us up as owners, okay? And just hear me out, all right? If you serve a notice and you serve an old one that is expired and doesn't have all the new tenants' rights on it, doesn't that put you in a bad position in a courtroom, Chris?
yeah, I mean, it depends
Okay,
on
so
how finicky the judge wants to be.
it may be the city's way of trying to sabotage us also. Just saying. especially if they're not notifying us that it's been updated or revised or that they're not doing it annually. So I got Arlene on a mission for that, and now I'm gonna talk to Belsie. Sorry to ask, after all this time, I get really confused with unincorporated and incorporated. Unincorporated follows LA City and incorporated follows
Oh, wait,
LA
I can
County.
answer my own question.
You can?
Yeah, I just found it finally. Yeah, it was updated March 28th.
Okay.
I'm gonna put a link in the chat.
Okay, perfect. So everybody that's got property in Larceau, pay attention, because that paperwork that you need to serve with every notice, have posted in the common area, has been updated. There's a new date. You need to use the new version, post the new version, and get rid of any old versions that you have. Okay, Belsie, back to you. I'm sorry. Here's how I'm going to help you, okay? There's two different kinds of unincorporated. Okay, that's the best way that I could explain it to you. So bear with me, okay? One belongs to the city of LA area, and one involves the county of LA. So if it's in the county of LA and it's unincorporated, it's going to fall under DCBA most likely. If it's in the city of LA and falls under the unincorporated area that isn't LA City, so you're not bound to RSO, is why now LAHD governs that. So we got three players in the plant: LAHD, LARSO, and DCBA. If you're in LA County and you want to terminate tenancy, one of those three entities governs you. Got it? Even in a single family home. Okay? DCBA is unincorporated LA County. LAHD is unincorporated LA City. And LARSO is City of Los Angeles, but it has spread like cancer to other cities that are densely populated with low income. Example, they threw in here City of San Pedro, City of Torrance, City of, I want to say Hacienda Heights, but that's not it. But it starts with an H, and it's right between Torrance, Harbor City. There we go. Got it. Sorry, it took a while for that one to come out of my photographic brain.
That must be specific neighborhoods or something, because I know San Pedro is like a part of Los Angeles.
Correct. San Pedro is a part of Los Angeles County, but not the city.
No,
But
no. It's part of the city. They have a city council person.
Right.
It's
So they've in there's LARSO in San Pedro.
right. Are you saying there are parts of San Pedro that are like that aren't incorporated in the city somehow?
Yes.
Because you're saying it's not just unincorporated LA County. You're saying there's unincorporated LA City somehow.
Yes.
Wow,
And
that's-
now Larceau is spread to other cities. I know it's out in the valley somewhere. I want to say it's parts of Sherman Oaks, but I could be wrong. But there's parts of San Pedro that are governed by LARSO. Anybody from the Torrance area, remember back in the days where they had the projects down there in that area? That's all governed by Larceau now too, even though it's City of Torrance. So the best thing that I could tell you guys is if you're in LA County, okay, anywhere in the county of Los Angeles, go to stayhousedla.org. Stayhousedla.org. Okay? Once you're on the website, it says how evictions work. You want to click on that, not evictions or not I got an eviction notice, but little black writing on their website says how eviction works. Okay? When you click on that, the background is yellow-green color. It's like a blend of yellow-green. As you scroll down, it changes to a solid white background, okay? Right there, where it changes to solid white background, as you scroll down, it says, enter your address. You can enter an address anywhere in LA County and hit enter, and it will pull up what laws govern that address. It will pull up whether it's LAHD, LARSO, or DCBA. Okay? It will tell you. It will tell you what your max rent increase amount is most likely going to be. This website was built for tenants. Okay? It wasn't built for us as landlords. So don't get on there and say, this is talking to me about all these other things. And it's like they're there for the tenants. They are there for the tenants. This is a tenant tool, a tenant website to tell tenants, hey, these are the rules your landlord has to follow. This is what governs you. I will, Maria. It's stayhousedla.org. Stay housed, HOUSED, LA.org. Okay? You want to click on the thing that says how evictions work. It's in little black writing in the middle of the big picture at the front. Once you click on that, you want to scroll down to the background that changes white, and right there's where you can enter an address. And it will pull up what governs that address. And the reason I'm warning you that this is a tenant-based website is I don't want you to get on there and go, this is all about landlords that are evicting their tenants. Yes, it is. But listen to me. If that's what the enemy knows, don't you think that that's what we should at least know? Nothing sucks worse than a tenant educating you. Agreed? Nothing makes you look like you're in a worse position than a tenant telling you what the rules are. We don't want to look like that, okay? We want to know exactly what the rules are, or we want to use our fogging techniques. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll check with my partner and get back to you. Then we don't look like a fool, okay? There's also TDN LA. Okay, well, this is the one I know how to use, and I want Tenant Defense Network. There you go. I want to know what my tenant knows. I want to be just as educated as they are, if not more. Okay? Hang on, somebody's trying to get in. Can somebody start talking to me real quick while I try to let somebody in and it not be like just me poking at my screen? Invite a contact. No, that's not what I want to do. Hang on, I'm not good at this. I'm sorry, you guys.
I'll start talking to you if you want.
Start talking to me, baby, please.
Hi, Patty. You are such a wealth of information, and we so appreciate all that you do and your wealth of knowledge.
I didn't say make my face red.
She
Okay.
pays me to say all of that.
I do. There, now I got somebody in the room. I hope that was her. I want to get everybody in here. All right. She just sent me a text message that she couldn't get in. So I don't want anybody to feel that way. So I hope that I got everybody in here. All right. So here comes some more questions. The website is very, very friendly because it tells us immediately, or tells me immediately, what rules govern that address. So as a property manager, when you guys are calling me going, hey, Patty, you know, I don't know what rules govern me. What's the address? That's where I'm looking it up. You know, sometimes you guys can answer your own questions and look it up. That's where I look it up, because what's a better resource than what the tenant knows? You know, I at least want to know what they know. Thank you for putting that on here. I appreciate you. But we need to know what the tenant knows. If we don't know what the tenant knows, we don't want to be wiping egg off of our faces. It's just not okay. Okay. It's not okay. It just makes us look so bad. So I get a lot of my information from there before I talk to anybody. As a property manager, if you are being hired for profit, okay, this is a good way when you're bringing on a new account or talking to somebody about a new account for you to immediately educate yourself on what rules govern that property. I mean, we're the pro, and we know the wind blows and the rules change on all of us. We need to be prepared and be aware of that so that we're all okay with that and everything moves smoothly. You're fine, Mama. They won't see you. Somebody's walking in and they're like, oh God. All right. I know we touched about the disabled woman and her qualified caretaker son. Keyword there was qualified. It is a detached duplex, but hard to rent due to the closeness of the units. So we chose them, even though their income was low. I thought their agency, IHSS, would assist them in installing handrails. No, oh, hold on, change out the tub, etc. They do not. The rent is $1,500. My decision was based on either waiting for a different tenant while losing $1,500 a month, or just put the woman in and work around her. Yes, I have other suggestions, Val. We're going to get there. How to get her financial assistance? Great. But I figured out I could replace a few doors and install a ramp for around $1,500 since I know this family will never move out. But I was surprised the organization did not provide any type of construction benefits. We signed the lease effective Monday, 4/28, but they still have not physically moved in yet. My team is making the necessary upgrades, not the shower yet, or at least she can get in. Val, what they're asking you for is a request for reasonable accommodations based on a disability. No, I said that wrong. They are not asking you for a request for reasonable accommodations. I goofed, okay? I am human. I am human. So I goofed. It is not a request for reasonable accommodations. It's a request for reasonable modifications. It's the M word, modification. So you want your tenant to prepare a request for reasonable modifications based on a disability. Why? Because modifications to the property required for a disabled person to live there, you should and could and most likely will allow them to make those upgrades, but they're to be done at the tenant's expense, not the owner's. With that being said, I would then have them reach out to ADA, their worker, or whomever else could help them with the upgrades they would need for their request for reasonable modifications. You need that in your wheelhouse now, a request for reasonable modifications. You want to approve it, but this puts the expense on the tenant. I get what you're saying, that the tenant can't afford it. I hear you crystal clear. Once you have a request for reasonable modifications from a landlord that's approved, and then they can go seek financial assistance to help them with those modifications based on the disability. But until that happens, it's going to be difficult. And technically and legally, they are responsible for rent from 4/28 forward. And the modifications are their responsibility, not yours, Val. I can't say that enough.
Patty, is having a shower a habitability issue though?
Yes, but it's not the landlord's responsibility to make sure that they can get in the shower. The shower's working fine.
Okay.
You understand? Let me put this in perspective for you on a much larger scale, okay? Let's say that the person moving in is wheelchair bound, okay? And they live on their own. They now need the countertops lowered. This is no joke. I'm talking on a whole serious level here, folks. This is a request for reasonable modifications based on a disability. You have to allow it because you don't pay for it. They do. And they also have to pay to put it back when they move out unless you give them permission to leave it installed. Got it? You can also require that they used a licensed and insured contractor that has you listed as additional insured on their policy. In other words, a contractor you approve of. Make sense? You guys following me?
Patty, how do you lower the countertops? Would that be like ripping out the cabinetry and?
That's all on the tenant. I
Oh.
mean, think about it in big perspective. If I'm living by myself and I'm wheelchair bound, oh my God, is that going to have to be low because I'm a midget to begin with? I'm just saying. You could probably put me in one of those little cubby hole houses. You know what I mean? Those dollhouse, Tupperware dollhouse things they have for kids and make it really work. It would probably be the perfect size for me because I'm so little. But in all fairness, lowering countertops isn't the only thing I'm talking about because you're right. They remove cabinets and take them down. I've seen them go in and widen all the doorways and all the doorways in the interior of the house so that the wheelchair fits in. I've seen them remove the tub enclosure and put in a roll-in shower. Okay. I've seen smoke detectors get changed for flashing smoke detectors instead of beeping smoke detectors. I've seen requests for handicap ramps to be installed. I've seen requests for grab rails in the restrooms to be installed. I'm just giving you guys ideas of different things that could be asked for. The most embarrassing request for service that is a modification to the property due to a disability, and I've never asked for a letter because I can only begin to imagine, and I'm going to tell you guys, this has happened to me 3 times in my career. Don't laugh. I'm going to stand back just a little bit so you can see me, because this may happen to you. It's happened to me 3 times in my career. 3 times, okay? Where I'm not trying to be racist here or sexual or any kind of discriminatory thing. This is just facts for facts, okay? And hear me out. And you're all going to laugh because you know I'm speaking the truth. As rude as it is, it's the truth. I've had gentlemen come into my office and ask me to have the water level in the toilet bowl lowered. Okay? And you got to keep, somebody's trying to call me. Don't call me now. Please don't call me. Go away. Sorry, you guys. Let me get you back. There you are. Okay. Sorry. Somebody tried to call me. Squirrel. Okay. So gentleman comes in the office and says, I have a request for service. I'd like the water level in the toilet bowl lowered. Oh, I'm sorry. I can only imagine that would be quite shocking first thing in the morning. Yes, we'll get right on that. How do you handle that? You know, as a female, I get that here. That could be quite shocking in the morning, you know, hey. But I completely and totally understand how that would work, how that could be a problem. And we'll go forward from there. Hang on just one second. I'll have somebody right with you.
Is Stacy?
Yeah, she is. I'll have her come out
Thank
right
you.
with you. No problem. No problem. Hang on, guys. We're just going to move really quickly. We're borrowing Catherine's office. Stacy up front, please. Sorry. I'm moving. Okay. So sometimes we have different disability, and I'm not saying that men are the only person that has a problem with plumbing and stuff like that. Us females have problems too, and I could tell you about them. Okay. Because for us short gals, some of us don't like stoves. Oops. Oops. I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry, you guys. I updated my iPhone, and now when I touch it, it does whatever it wants to. Hey, look, you can see the board behind me. Let's turn this way. Sorry. Let's do this. This is much better. All right. So sometimes the requests for service that we get can be a little tricky. They can be challenging. We need to keep what I call plastic face, and you guys need to practice that in the mirror of having people ask you really weird, bizarre questions and you don't break character. It's very important that we keep character in our faces because we can be held accountable to our motions and our movements from a fair housing level. If we're consistently rolling our eyes or turning our heads or doing something, I didn't say that. I always have a smile when I do it. And I do, it's just my customer service face. It's my hi, this is Patti. How can I help you? You guys have heard me answer the phone that way. It's just customer service. It's just the way we roll. It's business mode, so to speak, right? So make sure when someone's approaching you and they feel uncomfortable that you immediately put yourself in business mode, because the chances are they're going to throw something at you from left field and you don't want to laugh in their face. I mean, how rude would that be? I mean, come on. Can you imagine if that was us on the other side of the fence? I mean, I have problems with short counters and stoves, but I'm short. Okay. It's just what happens. Yeah, don't ask. I get it though. People in general may have requests based on different needs, based on their own personal body. So be it. Let's help them. I would want somebody to help me if that was me in the morning. Trust me. Okay. No, quite shocking. Yeah, no. hang on, I'm going backwards so I can answer people's questions. In-home supportive services does not cover modifications. No, they don't, but the American Disabilities Act or whatever her disability is might be able to help her. There also may be nonprofits in the area that can help assist. There is a lot of stuff out there for people with disabilities. Her IHSS worker may be able to help her find other programs. If they don't have a program available, she might have a social worker for financial, not IHSS. In other words, through Medi-Cal, Medicaid, whatever that is, she may be able to find assistance that way also. Okay. I know you mentioned home insurance in the past, but my insurance company just informed me they're canceling my policy. Is there insurance that you guys can recommend? It's a really tough bracket right now. And if you're just trying to get insured, this is what I could tell you. I have a guy, his name's Ryan. He's over at Homewell Insurance. He's slammed. You can send him an email. You can call him. He's a great guy. He'll try to get you in there. He's slammed. He's busy because I talk a lot about him. A lot of our clients in here even use him. So I'm sure somebody's going to put some recommendations up on. Here they come. Here comes Arlene. But here comes some information to help you guys with insurance. I love you guys for helping me out. Here's what I could tell you. Insurance is really tricky right now in LA County specifically, but in California. AGLA has been an advocate on trying to help with insurance. So they have a lot of insurance companies that are taking on properties in LA County that are doing all of it. So watch AGLA. It may cost you a pretty penny, but at least you'll be insured. And that's me talking to you. Okay. That's just me talking to you. It may be fairly expensive, but at least you'll be insured. I'm going down the list. Hang on. Clicker from cars stolen in gated port. Do we pay for replacement? No, you didn't steal it, did you? I'm going to assume a lot of things right now, okay? And just bear with me. The clickers from cars stolen in the gated carport, do you pay for the replacement? No. Did they steal more than the garage opener or the clicker for the gate? I'm assuming they stole some CDs, a radio.
Actually, we were lucky because people don't leave anything in the cars.
So they broke into the car and stole the clicker.
Exactly. So we're
And
changing
nothing
the
else.
code today.
That was going to be my first thing is change
Yeah.
the code, give everybody new clickers.
Right. That's
And
what
then
I'm
ask
doing.
them not to leave them in their vehicle. And no, if that's all they stole, I wouldn't charge them. But
Yeah.
in a perfect world, they would file that on their insurance claim as an expense to replace it.
I'm getting the ones that you can connect to the keys so that they don't accidentally forget it in the car.
Perfect.
Thank you.
No problem. Here comes in reference. I can't speak. There is a referral for insurance from Linda in the chat, just so everybody knows. Section 8 status. Let me see. Is April in here? I can check and see. I don't know what you're asking about on Section 8. Let me know. Are you worried about their funding? Is that what we're concerned about? I'm not sure what your question is in regards to Section 8 status. Arlene's giving us a link to something. Val, we spoke to their caseworker. She suggested we apply for a grant that would cover $4,500 of the work they had to do. Not my team. I figured out it would take at least 3 months to even get approved. Plus, I doubt they'll cover the work. And that's why we are waiting to replace the tub, but we're doing a few doors and the ramp. Okay, you do whatever you feel comfortable with, but this is an expense that falls on the tenant. And I'm glad that there's a grant but you get that this is something that's going to take time and energy and effort and everything else. So I would have them reach out to their other social workers and see what other assistance they can get to make this happen so that they're not homeless in a wheelchair.
Is our Section 8, is that continuing that program or is that being discontinued?
I don't have an update for you at this time. I think that they will continue the program. They changed it for a while and called it the 5-year lease program because they're letting people know that there's only going to be 5 years and then they're cut off. The problem is we got lifers in there. So what I think is happening, and forgive me, this is just my blonde brain, okay? I'm thinking that they're taking Section 8, the whole program, like an apartment complex, and they hiring a new property manager to come in, reboot, reload, clean house, and fix it all, figure out a system and make it work. Does that make sense? So I think that's why there's so many weird things going on, is they're going to clean house, come up with a system that works, or a better system that people aren't on for life. Because that's what's happening is these people get on the system and it's supposed to help them. It was originally designed and developed to help someone that was low income be able to save enough money to purchase a home. That's what Section 8 was designed for back in the day, okay? That's what it was designed for. It's not that way anymore. It's not that way anymore. They get people on there for life, unfortunately. But I think that that is what's happening, is just like, and I hate to say it this way because a lot of people don't see what I see, okay? Just like what Trump's doing with the government. He's going in there, cleaning house, trying to find the problems, reboot, reload. But in order to do that, you got to get rid of all the problems first rather than try to retrain bad habits. That takes so much longer. It's so much easier to reboot, reload, start over, and have them do it your way. And I get that there's a whole lot of backlash about that. I get it. But it's the process of business. I get that it's going to step on people. I have family members being stepped on, getting their federal jobs terminated. Okay, I get it. I see both sides of the fence. But from a business perspective, that's how you fix a problem. You reboot, reload, and try again. Because whatever system you're working on has been failing. It doesn't work. We need to come up with a different program. So I think that's why there's such a big lull or a weird thing going on in Section 8 right now, is I think that's one of the things that the federal government is cleaning house with. And in order to clean house, first they got to clean house and then they can reboot and reload. And that goes, and if I put it in a stand of taking over an apartment community, you have an on-site manager, you have a maintenance coordinator, you have a leasing staff, you have all these people that make this on-site 300-unit apartment community go. But the landlord's calling you going, I'm not making any money. I don't like this. This isn't working. This is hurting my investment, not helping my investment. So they call me. The first thing I do is fire everybody that works there and rehire my own people to do it my way. Because my way works and the owner's way didn't. So why try to reconvince them to reboot and reload? Because I'll give them the opportunity, get right or you're going to get left. you get it right or you're going to get left behind, because it has to be my way, because my way works. That's the only way I can pick it up and flip your unit in 6 months. If we do it with keeping your staff, it could take me 18 months because I have to break bad habits. So when you look at what the government's doing from a business perspective, like taking over an apartment community, what's happening makes sense. We may not like it, but it makes sense. Okay, just saying, not sticking up for anybody. I'm just trying to explain how I see what's happening. Yes, it is stepping on people. It is hurting people. It is hurting people financially. I know my family is one of them. Okay, I get it, but it's got to be done. It's got to be done. We can't keep going down the road we're going. We all agree on that. Arlene, read articles above talks about non-admitted carriers not paying claims. Ooh, thank you, Arlene. Thank you, thank you. I use AAA for home insurance. Bundled our cars. Their price is better than any agency could provide. We have too many houses for AAA to cover, so now we use Safeco. Gotcha. And thank you everybody for sharing, because this is all knowledge of things that are working. So those of us that have things that aren't working, this really helps us. So thank you everybody. There's the whole reason I do this is so we can all share knowledge, interesting facts. I mean, how was I able to bring you that fair housing case and tell you that fair housing changed their name to the Civil Rights Department? And we didn't get the memo. I didn't even know. Okay. I knew when they sent me a letter and I'm like, why is the Civil Rights Department contacting me? And then there's our former name of the Department of Fair Employment and Fair Housing. Whoa, when did you change names? I didn't get the memo. So because of all of you, I get a lot of information that helps keep all of us in the know. So to me, this is very important that we do this every Wednesday. Of course, I am concerned about liability. Is there anything that this family could sign? What if she falls out of the wheelchair and sues you? Honey, what if the mailman trips on a sprinkler and breaks his ankle in the front yard? Liability is liability. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen regardless. I get that when you have someone that is disabled, you feel like you take on a higher liability or responsibility because of their disability, and we can't do that. That's discriminatory. Okay, I have pulled up to a viewing to show someone an apartment, okay, on a second story, where I have told them on the phone, this is a second story, and they have pushed a wheelchair up to the bottom of the staircase. And I have turned to them and said, okay, let's go ahead and go on and view the unit. And I turn around and walk up the stairs. And I wait to see how they're going to get up them. Sometimes the people get out of the wheelchair, walk up the stairs, put the chair back up there and sit back in it. Sometimes their partner, who came to look at the unit with them, picks them up and carries them up the stairs, and they put the wheelchair back up there. I do not help. I do not assist. This is a them problem, not a me problem. I have to show the unit. If they're unable to see the unit, then unfortunately, maybe you need to find a unit that doesn't have stairs.
Patti, what if they ask you for help?
You can't
How-
assist them.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, my liability insurance won't allow me to assist you. I apologize. I can't pick you up. I mean,
Okay.
you've seen me. Some of these people haven't. I'm 4'8", you guys. I am itty bitty. Don't call me for light bulbs either. I can't reach them. Okay, so you just got to tell them, oh, I'm sorry, I have a bad back, or I'm sorry, I'm not able to assist you. I have my own issues. I have my own issues. They don't need to know what those issues are. You could have a full cage in your back. Huh? I have my own issues. I'm unable to assist you. I mean, if they're on the ground freaking shaking, call 911, you know? I mean, if they're injured, different set of facts, but I'm sorry, I have my own issues. I'm not able to assist you. Your personal business is none of their business. And I'm on a squeaky chair, you guys, just so you know. I'm sure you figured that out. All you can do is up your liability insurance to make sure that you're protected. That's all I got for you, Val. That's all I got, because you can't treat them any differently. You can't ask them to do anything any differently. There, I moved the, you know, it's still squeaking. I'll try to sit still. That's even more of a challenge. Do you represent the Lollipop Guild? Holy shit. Oh, Chris. I'm gonna chop you in half and make 2 midgets out of you. Do you know if NAA has forms for out of state? The apartment association in the state does not. Yes, but they want you to join their local, whatever it is. I hope that makes sense. They want you to join their local, whatever it is. Got it? You know what I'm talking about, but so you can search it through the NAA. They want you to join your local, and I'll give you guys examples so you know what I'm talking about, okay? AGLA, AAGLA, covers LA County, Ventura County, and San Bernardino County, okay? And a little bit of Riverside. That's what they cover from a national level. So they have national level support there. Inside of these areas, you have other apartment associations like AOA, okay? Which is for profit. They're not affiliated with a national apartment association. But you also have other apartment associations. There's a bunch of them. There's AACSC, which is Apartment Association of California Southern Cities. That's in Long Beach. That is not affiliated with the National Apartment Association. But when you go somewhere, and I'll give you an example, we'll use Santa Fe, New Mexico as an example. You can contact the National Apartment Association and ask them which apartment association covers Santa Fe, New Mexico, and they'll tell you, and then you can contact and join that association that's affiliated on a national level. Why do I keep saying affiliate on a national level? Because if you're gonna get involved with an apartment association, I would advise you one of two things, okay? Either pick one that works on a national level, so they got a bigger umbrella above them, so they have accountability, like AGLA, okay? Accountability, responsibility, all that stuff. They have somebody governing them, okay? Versus somebody that's not governed by anyone. Oh, got it? Because they only teach you what they want you to know. Oh, that makes sense too, didn't it? Okay. So when it comes to an apartment association, picking one that either is covered by the entire state, like California, the state of California has an apartment association. It's called the California Apartment Association, CAA. It covers the entire state of California. And then we have AGLA, which covers the counties I mentioned. And I like them because they're on a national level. But getting outside of the counties, I would stay with something that was covered under a national level so that you have that political advocate fund that goes straight up to Sacramento. A portion of your funds go there. When you pick one of these smaller associations, your membership dues pretty much just goes in some guy's pocket or gal, depending, you know. So just keep that in mind when your apartment shopping for an association. You really do get a lot of bang out of your buck from AGLA. I mean, come on, if you're an AGLA member, you get classes with me once a month for free. Why did the landlord need a psychiatrist? Oh, because he had an apartment complex. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Cha-cha-cha. Okay. We're all giggling at you, Val. Okay, that was a good one. Why did the landlord need a psychiatrist? Because he had an apartment complex. Okay, I'm going to keep that one. I'm actually screenshotting it so that I remember it for later because that was good. All right, anybody else have anything pertinent that they want to talk about that we need to discuss? Oh, this is a silly question and I Googled it, but I still don't understand the difference other than maybe zoning. What is the difference between a duplex and an ADU? Okay, I got you. We built an attached 2 and 2, a detached 2 and 2 ADU, a little over 700 square feet. I was confused on whether this could ever be a duplex and what it takes to make a duplex. Hang on. The difference between an ADU and a duplex is this. An ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. Accessory dwelling unit, meaning you took a different dwelling, okay, like a garage, and converted it. A duplex means that you have 2 properties on one parcel. An ADU is different because they have different completion dates. Okay, a duplex is usually built at the same time, makes sense, unless you do an addition, okay? And it's the completion dates that are different and the fact that an ADU is a standalone structure, accessory dwelling unit. It's not connected to the original parcel 9 times out of 10. Patty, is there a website where I can find a rent increase allowed in each city? Yes, but it's more than one you need to check. Okay, got it? So you can go to Widget's Way and look under tools, and I think I have a rent increase calculator on there. And you can put in the zip code. That does not cover anything in LA County other than statewide rent control. Okay, the rent increase calculator that I'm talking about is just for the TPA, statewide rent control. Okay, and that's on my website. It's also on Fast Eviction Services website under tools, and it's called rent increase calculator. Okay, so it's on Fast Eviction's website, and it's on my website under tools, I believe. So this is just for the CPI plus the 5% allowable by zip code. And that is, like I said, on Fast Evic's website under tools. It's called the rent increase calculator. That only works for statewide rent control. For DCBA, LARSO, LAHD, you need to go look on stayhousedla.org because it tells you what the maximum rent increase is at the time for that property. Remember, it was built for tenants so that they could check to make sure the landlords are following the rules based on their address. Those are the same rules I want you to follow. It makes it easy because most attorneys use that as a reference. I said most, not all. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So use stayhousedla.org so you could be address specific. And then for anything outside of LA County, I would use the tools on my website or on Fast Eviction Services website. They have it on their website too. It's tools and it's a rent increase calculator. It is only for statewide rent control. It is not going to be accurate for LA City, LA County. Nope, don't do it. It's only for statewide. Got it? So if you're governed by LARSO, DCBA, or LAHD, you need to look it up address specific by stayhousedla.org or by the actual municipality itself. I hope that answered your question, Belsie. Okay, good, because I was just going to be like, is there anything else? Because I think I got it all. Sometimes I got to go back through the checklist in my brain, but I think I got us covered. Anybody else have anything? Because we're at the hour. Wow. Nobody else? Okay.
Patty, oh,
Here-
sorry.
no, you're
Sorry.
fine. Go ahead. I'll
I
read
had
you
a
out, but
question.
Go ahead. What
I
you got?
was typing it up, but I thought I'd just ask you because for a quicker response. I was thinking about last week, Chris's question about tenants being too like asky or demanding. I know you didn't
call 'em
necessarily, huh?
Needy.
Yeah, like up front, during like maybe the application process or like when you're moving them in. I know he mentioned like a kind of a, well, maybe we can bring to light that there's a habitability issue or something. But with that, if you were to, I'm not saying I would do that, but if you were to do that, do you have to and they've already applied and technically they're approved, do you have to, I don't know, re-rent it back out to them? I mean, ideally, if they go away and find another place, then great. But if they don't, then aren't you back to like square one sort of thing?
Right. Habitability issue means no rent is owed.
Are you talking about the holding deposit agreement? Because a little bit
I think
different.
Oh, yeah, when we were talking last week about like when someone applies and, you know, holding deposit and if they're being, I don't know, too asky or demanding, stuff like that.
I now know what she's talking about. She is talking about the holding deposit agreement. We weren't using if they're too needy or too asky for that. But what Chris was saying in the holding deposit agreement rather than pre-signing the lease, and I think this might be what you're asking is if it's not, tell me no, is when we have them sign the holding deposit agreement, it's so if they back out, we can charge them daily rent from the time they sign that agreement to the time they back out. If we do a lease, we can't charge them. But it also gives us an out to say, I'm sorry, this unit is no longer available. And their repercussion is they get their entire holding deposit back. So it
Okay.
gives us a way out of the contract, and you're smart enough, you can put all the pieces of what I just said together
Yes.
and understand what we're saying.
Okay. Got it.
Unfortunately, this unit is no longer available. I'll be returning your holding deposit in its entirety.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Now that makes sense. Thank you.
No problem. When requiring renter's insurance, the forms require to add the limits. I think 100,000 is the minimum for liability. Yeah. I want 300,000 or above, depending on the property. If there's a pool, I want a 500 to $1 million policy, depending on the demographic of the area, depending on the makeup of the property, blah, 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 blah. Make sense? $100,000 don't do nothing no more.
Yeah, but it depends on how many assets are reachable, whether you structure things in separate LLCs. You know, because
Right?
you're
And this is when I shut up and just let other people talk so I don't get
Like,
myself in trouble.
my understanding is plaintiffs' attorneys, you know, they're looking at the asset picture, what they want to know, what insurance they find out, what
What else
insurance.
do you own?
Yeah, there's that too, but also like what insurance policies are. So in some ways, like the higher the insurance policy, the quicker the easy settlement they might be able to get to. So I don't know. I've heard arguments both ways sometimes for not.
So Chris,
having too
let
much.
me ask you a question. If, and this is just hypothetically talking out loud, okay? If I owned 30 doors, 35 doors, something like that, it would be in my better interest to hold them in different LLCs, different living trusts, different family trusts, rather than have them all under one umbrella.
Are we talking about different buildings?
I'm talking about different single-family homes, duplexes.
Yeah, I mean, in California, if the value is high enough and the equity in the home is high enough. Now, of course, we've talked about the downside. That means that you will have to have an attorney if you have to evict someone. But, you know, I don't,
If you're listed as a corporation, you must have an attorney. If
well, I
you're
think an LLC too, no?
in an LLC,
I'm pretty sure.
I don't believe so, but you are subject to statewide rent control as an LLC.
You mean yeah, I guess 1484, right?
1482
So,
kicks in and as if you're an LLC.
yeah, but if you're in certain jurisdictions, it's as strict, if not more strict, right? So it's not like you're losing that much.
LA County is extremely restrictive on LLCs being subject to statewide rent control and not exempt from.
The other thing too is it depends on like what's your asset picture outside of the business, because you don't want a judgment creditor going after like your primary residence or some other business you own or some other asset you have, or your liquidity in a bank account, a brokerage account. Even most IRAs, well, I think pretty much all IRAs, it's like a case by case thing, but they are not. Most people mistakenly assume that they're like pensions and they're protected, but because I looked into it myself, I always thought it was judgment proof because I just have IRAs and realized, oh crap, I'm not.
Oops. Oops.
So, well, that I mean on a personal level myself, not the assets I manage, but we're looking into it. You also have like a franchise fee for every corporate entity in the state of California. So every LLC,
Even an LLC is like at $800
bucks.
$800 a year.
That's what you owe the state. That's not, you also probably going to need somebody to file you're going to need someone an accountant to file a return for you.
That's to start with. It's $800 at hello.
So it kind of, I mean, it depends. If you have really good insurance and you're pretty sure that they're going to actually pay out on liability claims, I
Oh,
thought somebody's asking something. Then, I don't know. Some people think it's not necessarily worth all that added expense. And, you also have to do like extra bookkeeping, right? Because you have to keep separate books for each entity.
absolutely.
So
It's a nightmare having more than one entity. And I'll tell you the guys this till I'm blue in the face. You can run, but you can't hide. Okay. A lot of us try to hide behind an LLC or hide behind a corporation.
if it's done right though,
if it's done
if-
right, it can
the
be very
problem is a lot of people don't always follow all the corporate formalities, so things
right.
get pierced.
But let me say this. I've sat. I have to be careful what I say so I don't disclose too much. Okay. I've sat in law firms where people were coming together to start cases, and the first thing they do is go do an asset search
Right.
on the owner because they want to go see what all they own so they can determine how much they're going to come after. Does that make sense to you guys? That's the best way I could
It's like
explain.
the first thing they do because they're not going to take the case unless they're assets to get at. A piece of paper doesn't do you any good unless you
So
can get
if
money
you
out of it.
have all of your assets under one umbrella, you're going to attract a lot of litigation. Is that what I just heard?
I mean, you could if something happens on your property. You're kind of like separating eggs into different baskets. And when you say it's like it's a hassle, if it's kicking off a lot of cash, if it's a profitable building with a low vacancy rate, on-site manager, everything, you have good management, etc., then you're just paying an accountant and you're paying the $800 and it's not that big a deal,
Right.
You just you do it because things are functioning well. But if you're like a lot of us and you're on a shoestring budget,
Robbing from Peter to pay Paul.
then yeah, it's another thing. So there's
Hey.
also like blanket
You mean
umbrella.
we own investment property? Okay,
There's
Val
also
has-
umbrella insurance policies are
Yes, there are.
usually pretty good where they'll cover all your properties.
Val has a question, and I'm sure it's addressed to you, Chris, but I know it's not addressed to me. So I'm gonna throw it out there. She has a pending dog bite lawsuit. The plaintiff sued 3 of her LLCs. This is already almost 2 years old, and the fraudster is suing anything that moves. Any opinion or anything to help her?
You couldn't get the 2 other LLCs like dismissed from the suit. I mean, how are they liable?
I hope you grab that, Val. They're not a
Uh,
party in the action.
I mean, I would try
They're
and get them
not a
dismissed out.
party in the action. They should be dismissed from the case. They're not a party in the action.
It would be later when you're trying to enforce a judgment. Maybe you try and look at someone's assets, but it doesn't make sense. If a dog bite occurred on one property, it's only that property, and maybe they'd name you if you're like the single member manager. But
there's your answer. One is the owner, one is the manager, and the other has nothing to do with it. Exactly. I would tell them that you want the other LLCs dismissed from the cases. They're not a party in the action.
they should have been dismissed at the pleading stage.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what the attorney's doing. I mean, unless there's more that I don't know about, but like from the hypothetical, from the hypothetical fact pattern that you gave, if that's all that's involved, I don't understand why you wouldn't do that at the pleading stage. I mean, it's not even a summary judgment. So
yeah, she may just grab a hold of it now and run with it. You never know. I saw something else. I have an AC tech scheduled, but when they showed up, the tenant was not at the property. The tenant called stating they had an emergency and had to leave with no time to let us know. The tenant called when she noticed, though, the Ring camera, the AC was at the property. Could we still charge the tenant for the AC trip? Belsey, I have specific questions and I'm looking for specific answers. Did the tenant ever tell you you couldn't come in? Then you used your key and let yourself in and took care of it? That becomes my question always.
No, actually, the tenant scheduled the AC technician to go to the property and do the repairs. So it's not like they allowed us to go into the property. They just allowed the technician to go in the property because they
Okay,
were
so
going to be
The
there.
tenant called and because they could see on the Ring camera that they went into the property anyway?
They went and knocked on the door, but yes, nobody was there.
Okay, so in a perfect world, we would serve 24-hour notice to enter to do necessary or agreed upon repairs. And if the tenant didn't allow entry, we could serve them with a curable breach of covenant notice. I get that emergencies happen, but we should have used our key and let ourselves in because the tenant never told us you can't do the repair today. So do you have a key to this unit?
No, we don't.
There's a problem. You should have a key to the unit. So now you can potentially pass the service fee onto the tenant because they had to cancel. And then when it's rebooked, make sure you get a key made for the unit. It makes it so much easier for you if you have a key and you can just let yourself in. Remember, we don't need tenants' permission. We post notice, they say nothing, we use our key and let ourselves in. That's
Oh.
how that works. That's how that works. We serve notice, we hear nothing from the tenant, we use our key, we let ourselves in. That's how that works.
Oh, what if the tenant calls the police? So at least we have the.
You have
notice.
written notice. You have every right to be into the property. You serve proper notice. You use your key and let yourself in. What's the problem?
Patty. Thank you, Patty.
No problem. California Civil Code 1954, just so you know what I'm talking about. 1954. Okay?
Thank you very much.
No problem. And the only reason I'm able to quote you that is I'm looking at a notice in my head and I see it right under 24-hour notice to enter.
I have a question.
Okay. Hi, David. I recognize your voice.
You said, yeah, I got confused. You said something like, if you're LLC, you are subject to 1482, but if you incorporated, you're not. What do you mean by that exactly?
In LA County, if you have an LLC, they look at it like you're a business entity and they make you subject to statewide rent control. You're not exempt from it.
I think, isn't that actually in the state, in like 1484 or whatever it is?
It's in AB 1482, and what it says is a landlord could be exempt from AB 1482 if there's only an individual that owns the LLC and not multiple owners. In LA County, it's always challenged, and it becomes this huge litigation battle that you just don't want a part of. So just in LA County, what I'm seeing is they are stating that corporations and LLCs in LA County are considered subject to statewide rent control, and there's not that exemption that we all try to look for the LLC under other counties. LA is just being extremely strict in that provision of the law. So they look at you like you're a corporation and you're subject to statewide rent control with an LLC in LA County. I've seen it get heavily, heavily argued. And the reality of that is, if we're an independent owner of an LLC, we don't have the money for the heavy, heavy argument.
Yeah, why isn't AGLA like taking a case up on appeal? Are they waiting for the right one or something?
AGLA has about 6 different lawsuits currently going. You could check with them. Dan stays on top of all of that. I try to keep that out of my filing cabinet in my brain, because if I added that to you guys, I'd be in a sane asylum. Okay, I just stick with property management. Yeah, I know a little bit about this and a little bit about that, but just really try to focus on property management. Patty, if you don't have a key to the unit, do you ask the tenant to make you a key, or do you borrow their key to make a copy? Is there a notice for that, or how would we go about doing that? Well, Maria, I can tell you the extremely aggressive way to do it. Okay, so everybody listen up. This is the extremely aggressive way to get a key to your property. Okay. And this is aggressive. And then I'll give you the sugar-coated version, okay? Julia will yell out. This is extremely aggressive. And I mean straight for the jugular. Extremely aggressive. You go post 24-hour notice to enter on the property to go in, and you take a locksmith with you and you have them make you a key. You cannot change the tenant's lock or you illegally lock them out. But you do have a right to have a key to your own investment property. It's extremely aggressive, but you can do that. Now the locksmith made you a key and you have a key, okay? With that comes a huge responsibility. You better know what you're doing. Got it? That is the aggressive way. The nice way is, after careful review of your account file, I see that you're missing some addenda and we don't have a key to your unit. So we're going to need to have you bring us a key to the unit, or we can have one made the next time the locksmith's on the premises. It's a nice casual conversation. Next time, if nothing happens, it's a letter. And then it's, oh, you already mentioned the locksmith would just go make you one. So, hey, now my aggressive isn't so aggressive. Got it? I hope that helped. Anybody have anything else? A lot of times in investment property, and I'm just going to talk out loud and then I'm going to get off of here. A lot of times in investment property, the first thing the tenant does when they move into a property is change the locks. We get mad, we get pissed. This is considered a modification to the property without written consent of the landlord. Here's the reality of what I just said to you. What's the first thing you do when you buy a new house? What's the very first thing you do when you buy a new house, whether you're going to live in it or it's an investment property? What's the first thing you do? We all change the locks. Why? Because we don't know who has a key. That house was just listed for sale. Other agents could have a key. Anybody could have a key. You do it. I do it. They're going to do it too. Okay? It's what makes them feel safe. It's what makes them feel secure. Okay? Bottom line. With that said, just go ask them for a copy. Look, I know you're going to probably change the locks unless you can say, I just had the locks changed. Here's a copy of the invoice. You don't need to change them again. I'm the only person with a key. At this point, even the owner doesn't have one. Because a lot of times in property management, owners don't want keys. They have keys, but they're from 30 years ago and they don't work. They haven't worked in 20 years, right? So 9 times out of 10, when you're in fee management, the owners don't have keys. What keys they have are way when they bought the house. They don't exist anymore. So that's an easy way to get a key on a property, just so you know, is you can call a locksmith, go out there and have them make you a key. I mean, think about it. In all fairness, you didn't even open the door. You didn't go in. 24-hour notice, necessary or agreed upon repairs. And they can make you a key. You can't then, I'd be cautious about then using that key to enter. I would go back and serve another notice and enter on another day with my key in the event that I needed to. Also, please take note, under California Civil Code 1954, which is notice to enter, you are not required to post notice to enter in the event of an emergency. An emergency consists of fire, flood, death in a property, okay? You as a landlord have a right to preserve your real property. So in the event water's running out the front door and the tenant's like, yeah, you're not coming in here. You landlord, call the police. You want to enforce California Civil Code 1954. You have a right as the owner to preserve your real property. Fire, flood, death in a unit. This is extremely helpful for a tenant that decides to run the garden hose down the toilet and cause you a big bill. Just saying. Okay? Make sense? What if there's a gate and the tenant has his own lock with a chain? The locksmith can pick that master lock too, honey. The locksmith can pick that. Actually, if you flip it over and look, a lot of times they don't erase the number for the key off the bottom of a master lock. So you can just flip it over, read that number, and then go contact master, go to somebody that makes keys and tell them you want the master lock for that key. Sorry, I know way too much about some of this stuff. I shouldn't know that. Did you guys know that? It's master lock. When you buy them, you flip them over. There's a number printed on the bottom of the lock, kind of where you stick the key in. If you rub your hand across that number, it comes off. A lot of times people don't rub their hand off that number, and you could just look at it and know what key fits that lock. You're welcome. If a tenant does not pay their security deposit on time, can you charge a late fee on that? I wouldn't. But I would, well, hold on. Do yourself a favor. You do the accounting, right? If the check that they pay you with doesn't say to be applied to rent, then you should be able to apply it. I just remember something that made my heart smile. Ding. 4/25 is the last day we couldn't do accounting this way anymore. So starting May 1st, we can apply incoming payments to the most past due balance. So next month on May 1st, when your tenant pays the rent, I want you to apply to the security deposit first and then the rent, okay? And then the rent, and then serve them a 3-day for the difference. Because what they didn't pay you was rent. What was past due and you could put on the account is the deposit. And now the balance they owe you is the rent money, not deposit money.
Patty, so that we can start applying
Okay,
that.
so Julia, let's you and me have a conversation real quick, and it'll let everybody else know what we're talking about, okay?
Okay.
You remember back in the day, anytime anybody paid us any money, as long as it didn't say for rent on the check, we could apply that money to any past due balance on their account. Late fees, unpaid rent, any past due balance on their account. Bam, COVID hits. And they implemented this in the second round of COVID moratoriums. It was not in the first round of moratoriums. I could give you the assembly bill, but I've tried to erase that stuff from my brain because it was taking up a lot of space, trust me. And what I could tell you is during COVID, and this came about in the second COVID moratorium that we got, not the first one, it was in the second one. I want to say it was AB 898, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me to the number. That is coming from way back in the brain. And I don't want to get in hyper focus mode. What it said, any monies coming in were to be applied to the current month's rent, and any overages went to future month's rent. Nothing went into the rears unless the tenant put in writing where to apply those funds. Okay, that was implemented during the COVID pandemic. That is to expire in April of 2025. So starting May 1st,
Well, that's great.
we're back to business as normal, folks.
Yay.
Unless somebody passes a law. Unless
So-
somebody passes a law.
I always loved it when I was in corporate and they would put in their lease agreements. So then I started doing it in my rental agreements that I can just
Apply incoming funds as needed.
Yes. So I could go back to putting that in my rental agreements.
Not until
Okay.
May 1st.
May 1st. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
I almost want to look up the assembly bill. Okay, May 1st is freaking tomorrow, isn't it? It is.
Yes.
I want to go back and find it in the assembly bill just to make sure I have the date right, because I did try to erase that stuff from my brain. I hope you guys understand. They were mass moratoriums that we were given during COVID, and I stored them all here. That's got to go. So I want to say it was either April of 25 or October of 25. So we need to look at the moratorium that changed how we applied incoming rental funds. It was either April or October of 2025. And now I'm torn between the two dates. So I'm gonna have to go find that and answer my own question and report back to us. So do me a favor, slow down. I'll have the answer by Wednesday, but don't go serving a 3-day on the second they pay you. Okay? Let me just make sure we're simpatico and on the safe side of the fence before I tell you to go poke them in the eye. Okay? That's how we're going to handle that, Val. Incoming funds is going to go to past due amounts first and then be applied to rents. And then you'll be able to 3-day on the balance of the rent. It's extremely aggressive, but it works. It's how in corporate America, and Julia can verify this, is how we collected our late fees, folks. Wait, what? Wait, what? Tenant pays rent late, doesn't pay the late fee. Next month, tenant pays the rent. I charge the late fee out of the incoming rent, and now the balance he owes me is unpaid rent, and I'm serving him a 3-day notice for the amount of rent that wasn't paid because I applied the late fee first. Okay? I don't know if we can do that starting May 1st or starting November 1st, because there's 2 dates stuck in my head. One is April 1st, 2025, and one is October 1st of 2025. I don't know why. One of them is for accounting for COVID rents. Let's hope, fingers crossed, that it's April, but I got a feeling it's October 1st, you guys. I'm sorry. I'll look into it. I'll have an answer for you by Wednesday, and we'll be by next Wednesday. No problem. I'm going to get off of here too. I'm hungry. All right, everybody, have a great week. If there's anything else I can do for you, let me know. And we'll go from there. Bye, everybody.
Patty.